Welcome back. In this session, we are going to understand blanket purchase order concept. In previous session, we have discussed about consumables. Coming to consumables or services, if you are procuring these services from a vendor repeatedly, like I have a scenario here, for stationery like pen, pencil, notebook, other stationery consumed for day-to-day office use, every month we are going to place a purchase order to a vendor. So this is the concept of consumables we already discussed. Placing the purchase order, receiving the goods, then invoice verification. Three steps are happening here. Purchase order, goods receipt, invoice verification. So for every month we have to place this order. We need to place 12 purchase orders for one financial year. So SAP gave another option. If you are procuring consumables, rather than placing the purchase order every month, doing this goods receipt against each purchase order, what you can do, you can create one purchase order that is called blanket purchase order. Here you mention your value. What is the maximum value you are going to procure in a year? See, let us take 500 USD per month I am going to raise. So what is my cost for 12 months? 6,000. So for 6,000, you create one blanket purchase order. After creating this blanket purchase order, since consumables are expensed as and when we receive the goods, we understand this in previous scenario. Rather than doing this goods receipt every month against the POs, if you create a blanket purchase order for this value, you can directly do the invoice verification. This step is no longer required. You can save a lot of time. We place this purchase order. Against this purchase order, we are going to do 12 times invoice verification. First time for this month, second time for Feb, third time for March, like this. We are going to, as and when we receive the goods worth of 500 USD or 400, whatever may be the value, plus or minus, directly based on the vendor invoice, take this purchase order as a reference, because in this purchase order we are mentioning two things. One, validity we are mentioning there. Second thing, we are mentioning value as well. What is the maximum value that is allowed against this purchase order? So now we will receive these goods for this month. First step, create purchase order, then do the invoice verification directly. We don't need this goods receipt step. MyGo is not required if you are creating blanket purchase order. If I do this invoice verification, system will show, if you go to purchase order, out of this 6,000, we consumed 500. It is getting updated every month. Whatever the value you are consuming out of this 6,000, it will be updated to the purchase order. At any point of time, you can go and check these values. That is the concept of blanket purchase order. Rather than creating every month one purchase order and doing goods receipt against this purchase order every month, we can create one purchase order for 12 months. Then every month, no need to do this goods receipt. Directly we can do invoice verification. That is the concept here. The item category for this blanket purchase order is B. That we will understand. This is the concept. Simple concept. One purchase order, this 12 invoice verification. This is simplified here. We will understand in next session. We will understand in SAP.